afternoon. As many of you know, tremendous rainfall has led to significant flooding and power outages throughout the city of Dearborn and the region. The city of Dearborn and its employees have been preparing for and responding to this rainstorm since late last night and through the morning to assist residents and bring in additional resources. The city of Dearborn is working with and communicating with and regularly with officials at the local, county, state, and federal level. Earlier today, a local state of emergency was declared by Mayor O'Reilly and the City Council, and at that meeting, it was approved, $500,000 was approved for immediate response to the flood. A few hours later, the state of Michigan has also declared an emergency, and we continue to coordinate with the state's emergency management officials. At this time, this continues to be a developing situation, but I want to ensure all residents that all resources are being deployed and all pathways to help are being pursued. There's been many reports of flooding and power outages throughout the city. As a result, the city of Dearborn has opened up a cooling shelter for those folks who cannot remain at home due to.
So last night we experienced another catastrophic storm and many homes across Dearborn were flooded. Each of us here today has witnessed the destruction of the storm, and what we have seen we will not forget. I understand people are angry and that people are upset, and rightfully so. I am angry and I am upset, and the catastrophe has devastated our community. I stand here today, yes, as your city council president, but more importantly as your friend and as your neighbor. And as your neighbor, along with Mayor O'Reilly and with my city council colleagues and the administration, we are here to do everything we can to help each and every person during this challenging time. We are strong and we are resilient, but we have seen firsthand that we are stronger together. Our only focus should be uniting as a community on this road to recovery. And if you're feeling overwhelmed, I want you to know that you are not alone. We see you, we hear you, and we will be taking swift and immediate action. The city is working around the clock to make sure that our residents have access to guidance and resources during every step of the way. Early this morning, we called for an emergency meeting with the Dearborn City Council, Mayor Jack O'Reilly and the administration to address this horrific flooding and to take action to provide our residents with immediate relief. First, Mayor Jack O'Reilly has declared a local state of emergency so that city administration can take action immediately to address this crisis. And I also want to thank Governor Gretchen Whitmer for declaring a state of emergency on the state level. Second, the Dearborn City Council has approved the allocation of $500,000 for cleanup efforts. We are asking that everyone place any flood damaged goods on the curb. GFL, our garbage disposal service, will come around and assist with picking up garbage and any flood damaged goods from your curb. More information will be provided by Tim Hawkins, our PMAS director. We've also established a call center number to report any flooding and damages. We'll be gathering data now so that we are able to request the appropriate funding as soon as disaster relief funds become available. We're asking that everyone please call 313-943-3030 to report the damages incurred as a result of the flooding. And I understand that our MIS department is also looking to see if they can place something online for people to fill in as well. Fourth, currently more than 100 trucks and many employees are working and trying to drain the flooding, which has drastically affected different parts of our city, namely the East End. Volunteers across the city are assisting with cleanup and checking in on those most impacted. So lastly, I want to say if you're able to, check in on your elderly neighbors, make sure your friends and family are safe. And just prior to this, we all got off a call with county, state, and federal officials. I want to thank Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, who has been in touch with the White House and who's made them aware of this problem as well. We are working around the clock to recover from this catastrophe. This is a developing situation and all resources are being deployed and all pathways to help are being pursued on behalf of our residents. We're committed to swift action, transparency, and to getting you information as needed and investigate exactly what happened. We'll be updating you as soon as we gather more information. Thank you very much. And at this point, I'd like to pass the mic on to Tim Hawkins.
Good afternoon, everyone. Tim Hawkins, Director for Property Maintenance and Development Services. During this terrible time, I would like to bring up the fact that when you're dealing with a flood, you should make sure that the power is turned off to your basement. Everyone knows that electricity and water do not mix. You should use all of the protection that you can when handling the materials, such as rubber gloves, boots, anything that'll protect you from the water. Even though it appears to be storm I have personally pumped out 7 basements and it all appears to be stormwater. It may have contaminants in it that could be dangerous to your health and otherwise. Any damaged items should be carried out to the curb. GFL is going to continue with its normal service throughout the week, but any of the bulk items that it can load onto its trucks, it will. If we have carryover, we are planning on picking them up on Saturdays. We are also going to continue this for several weeks, I believe now, due to the amount that I have seen. This morning I did not realize the amount of damage that had occurred in the east end, and it is definitely more than was initially realized. The last thing is, there may be more rain moving forward as we go along, so as the chief had originally stated, please, anything that you want to continue to own, get out of the basement, get to higher ground, get them out to the garage, get things cleaned up. If more water does come in, we'll have less to clean up. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chief Ronald Head, Dearborn Police. I just have a couple of things. Number one, we've worked since late last night to keep the streets as clear as we can possibly get them. I can tell you to date, aside from the basements, which are on a personal level for individuals, we've had over several hundred cars that were abandoned under the bridges, freeway entrances, exits, etc. As of this hour, the day shift has totaled more than 100 cars. What I would suggest to our community and ask of them is that if you don't have to go out and it starts raining again, stay home. Do not pull under a viaduct or a lower end of a street with other cars under there, because it makes no sense that 30 cars get locked in under a viaduct, and we can't rescue everyone. So it's very vulnerable for them. Second of all, I want to ensure the public and our residents that we have put together a comprehensive plan to mitigate going forward the flood damage, and we're working together with every city department. And the last thing I want to say is that let's make sure we look out for our seniors in our community. Oftentimes they tend to be very independent, but at times like this, we need to check on them. Many of the phone services are not working properly at this time. Thank you.
Irving, I'm an attorney in the city's law department. I want to reiterate what the council president said, that there will be an investigation as to the cause of this flooding. We will be working with the emergency management authorities to help with the coordination of any emergency management funds that become available. To that end, we encourage residents to document their losses, take pictures, take video. If you have a video of water in the basement and it's receding, that would be very helpful going forward. Pictures of all the losses, pictures of the curb once the damaged goods are out there, those will all go a long way towards helping the city with documenting the extent of this disaster. The other thing I would suggest is that residents look into their homeowners insurance coverage.
Who responded to Dearborn employees. I think that we can't overstate their dedication and their hard work. In the fire department, the police department, and all the public employees. We've had over 100 of our staff in the field trying to respond to flooding events, blocked sewers, and a number of other things. So thank you all to them, and we hope that you will thank them when you see them in the field, because I think they deserve that kind of respect. What happened? Everybody is asking that. In fact, I've heard some people say all the work that Dearborn's been doing and all this money they've been spending, we thought we were protected. How come we're still getting flooding? Well, I just want to dispel any kind of opinion that you're going to be immune from any kind of major flooding. Our system is built to handle about 95 to 98% of any flood that occurs from a 3-inch storm that happens over 24 hours. So that kind of a storm ends up with no basement flooding. And I have here a chart, and I'll have Eunice Patel, the city engineer, explain what Dearborn, how it's built and the particular challenges we have. But this chart shows you the top one is normal operation up to 3 inches. 99% of all our storms don't occur at 3 inches for 24 hours. We might get 3 inches in a couple hours, but we don't get it over 24. Also, if there's rain beforehand and the ground is saturated, that can make it worse. This anticipates saturated ground. Most of the time, you don't have rain 3 or 4 days before a storm, and the ground will act like a sponge, and you don't get that kind of runoff. What we had in 2014, some of you were here, recall that, we had 5.8 inches over an outer drive. We have a facility, we have a rain gauge that we're required to operate. And we also have one at Prospect, that's over by Prospect on the other side of Schaefer. And that registered 4.7 inches of rain for that 2014 event. And we had over 1,000 homes get flooded, about 50-50 on each side of town. 2021, last night, at Outer Drive, we had 7.58 inches of rain, almost 2 inches more than what we got there in 2014. Over at Prospect, our rain gauge failed. We think it was more than 7.58 inches of rain, just because the storm seemed to be tracking along I-94. So that caused particular problems on the east side, more severe on the west side. And Eunice Patel can explain to you how our system is built and why it seems like the west side gets a little more relief. And he has that information for you now. And we can be happy to answer questions afterward, I'm sure.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Eunice Patel, city engineer. And I'm going to go over existing conditions. This is map. We have our sewer trunk lines. These are the highlighted map is about 48 inch diameter pipe and over. We have 550 miles of sewer system. That includes from 12 inch diameter all the way to 17 feet diameter. Line in brown is our Rouge River. All these lines is highlighted yellow. They are trunk sewer, they are bigger sewer. And these red dots are the connecting discharge point along the Rouge River. So any water dumps into the Dearborn system upstream has to come down to this discharge point. As you can see that we have in the West Dearborn 13 discharge point, although they are kind of smaller diameter from 48 to 8 foot diameter, 48 inches to 8 foot diameter. In East Dearborn we have only 2, substantially larger diameter, 17 feet diameter, 10 feet and 12 feet diameter. But we have only 2 outlets. So these are the existing system. And as part of the sewer separation, we did in northeast and northwest, this area. That part of the sewer separation is not a sewer improvement project. It was a federally mandated sewer separation project where we have separated wastewater from rainwater. That's a fundamental principle of that project. As doing so, we got ancillary benefit that we put down the bigger sewer here, additional sewer. We created 3.95 million gallon of additional storage underground. That's a benefit we got it. That water is right now inside the pipe. It's not inside the people's basement. It's not on top of the road surface. That 3.95 million gallon is underground stored. That's a benefit we got it with the sewer separation project. That's ancillary benefit. We also got about 50 miles of new roads and new water line as part of this project. Now if you can see this blue mark, that only 30% of drainage area for Dearborn. So if somebody say that, okay, we did all the big project, we only work on 30% of the surface area of Dearborn, not 70% system as it is. So if somebody has any perception that, okay, we spend that much money, but those money spends are only for this 30%. 70% systems are still as it is. So I want to make sure that you guys understand that, you work here, it doesn't mean that I got a perfect system here, because the drainage point is here. So until I get this drop of water goes from here all the way up to here, and that makes perfect, then the system is perfect. So by working down in a local area, it doesn't make that you're prone to basement flooding or street floodings. I just want to make sure that there's a system of existing sewer system. The part between West Dearborn and East Dearborn, if you see that this is the river, this is a sewer system. In West Dearborn, sewers that were constructed between 1930s and 1960s. These are the old system. We are still using it. These sewers were designed, I believe, based on the standard of that time. Since the standard has changed, and every time, standard goes with the current standards. So this system was designed based on standard of that time. Advantage what we got in West Dearborn is topography, ground elevation is relatively very high. So that they were able to build, not us, but they were able to build this sewer system deeper. And then river was also, I guess, elevation was lower. So as long as this water comes out here and dumps into the river and stays above this area, we are safe. In fact, I guess even this manhole, if the water comes out up to this elevation, you are still safe because it's too deep. Your basements are connected to this point. So as long as you have water up to here in this pipe, we are safe. Unfortunately, that's not the case in East Dearborn. First, our East Dearborn grounds are relatively shallow. So they could not put the deeper sewer. It's only like, some areas only 7 feet to 10 feet. So anytime this is the normal river elevation. If river stays at this water elevation, this sewer is fine, is functioning good with a high velocity. Because for sewer operation, velocity is critical. So as long as the river elevation is down, this water is going to go fast because of the velocity. So now, like this morning I checked the river elevation, water level is up to here. And when the water level goes up to this point.
I'm going to point here so they understand it. This is East Dearborn's
Right.
outfall. The Rouge River is over here at Southfield in South of Michigan Avenue. This is the turning basin at the Ford Motor Company. That's our outfall. The river elevation at these two elevations is set by the Great Lakes, and it's about 8 feet higher than what it would normally be. So trying to get the water out of these pipes gets more difficult because that water's so high. When the water level is down on this 40-year cycle, and we're just starting to go down now, this will return to what it was designed to do. But right now, it wasn't designed to fight against these high water levels on the Great Lakes. Over here, the water level isn't impacted by as much on the Great Lakes, and the river elevation in these sewers are flowing pretty freely.
So when the river elevation is high, water level is high, it's precludes this velocity, I guess. Sewers are designed to carry 5 to 8 feet per second velocity. That becomes only like 0.5 foot per second. So when you have 0.5, because of this velocity, water level, we have all surcharge here. In fact, we had that last night, we had the water all the way up to here because the water was not pushing. Because this water is going that way, river is flowing that way, so this flow is.
Government asks us for data, we have that data readily available. So again, folks, I know people are dealing with their basements being flooded and having to empty them out and clean out the water. But in the meantime, please report as much as you can. That's very useful for us as a city moving forward.
What's that number again?
313-943-3030.
But this number is being busy all day today.
So, again, if you can continue to call it, I know that our MIS department and communications department is also working on putting a Google form up, and that where you'll be able to provide your name, your address, your phone number, and email, and description, and be able to gather that data as well. So we apologize, we know, we understand. Like I said earlier, we could only do this together. It's very difficult to have, one person or one department, under the leadership of Mayor O'Reilly, every department is all hands on deck. And it's important that we understand that everyone's very frustrated, very angry. We acknowledge that. This is a time to see what we can do to help resolve the issues. It's very easy to finger point, but what we need to do now is get relief and figure out what we need to do.
Can you have all of this in Arabic too, please?
We'll talk with DPI and we'll see what we can have translated on the website.
Forms are going to be will be available. So where the forms fill out
We have time.
forms.
Yeah. So as Bill Irving stated from legal, the forms will be placed online. You have time to complete them. They don't have to be completed today, tomorrow. There'll be some time. Bill, is there a deadline? You think?
45.
45 days.
Susan,
What's the website?
Cityofdearborn.gov. I'm sorry, .org, I apologize. And you know what, Mayor Launders asked me to mention this earlier, and I apologize. For more information, please go on our website, it's cityofdearborn.org. That will, that as information becomes available, that website will be updated. And again, I know our, Ms. Launders is also responsible for making sure information is being disseminated through our social media sites, through Facebook, under City of Dearborn government. And so look for information there as well.
Susan, the city just lowered its insurance coverage to keep premiums down.